We got to start getting our mentality, getting our ability, getting our challenges, facing off against the things that we go through on a daily basis, focusing to the point where we're utilizing the things that we go through. And so, what are some of the challenges that you're facing off against today? What are some of the things that you're looking to achieve? What are some of the places where you go and where you dive inside of yourself? You start to find you, where you start to sit down and start to really use your mentality. I mean, really use the ability inside of yourself to be who you are, to see that the person inside of you is worth it. And so, if you're able to subscribe on my multiple networks, YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, Instagram, podcasts across, I would really enjoy. As we're building a community, I also have my website, Motivation, Meditation, Inspiration.yoga. And so I do get viewers from around the world, different countries. I definitely can see them when they're linked up to the different sites. So if we're looking at challenges, what are the types of challenges that we face off against on a daily basis? And what are the challenges that you're facing off individually in your life? And how do you start to utilize those challenges in your life? And how do you start to put yourself in a place where you're utilizing your mentality? So we realize that a lot of people are putting it on the situations at hand, like today's February 11th. They're looking at how things are going on at this exact time. And a lot of the times they get trapped on that page, they get trapped on that part of the chapter, and it stops them from focusing on their true tasks, focusing on their true goals, focusing on their true abilities inside of themselves. So the true questions that we need to start asking ourselves, the things that a lot of people are avoiding, are how does this affect me? How do I utilize it? How do I work through those kind of challenges? And how I'm going to put myself to where those challenges no longer have the ability to stop me from being who I am on the inside. Now, if you're one of those people who is out there is asking this type of question, unsure at this exact time of exactly what they're going to do, how they're going to do, and where their energy needs to be applied, I would suggest to look inwards. I would suggest to start to seek out a way for you to not allow the artificial things to stop you, not allow the artificial things to hold you back from gaining what you have inside of yourself, which is, what is those things that you have? You have what you believe in, what you focus into, the knowledge that you have inside, the challenges that you're facing off against. And so this part is about the focus. This part is about getting to that point inside of yourself where you're just done with not having a positive life, where you're just done with by not allowing yourself to take control of the wheel of your life and to face off against the challenges that only you can. And so if you're on that page, if you're searching for a way to be able to do that, if you're hearing this message and you're listening to this message, recognize that it's what you choose is positive. It's what you put your mind to is what starts to truly matter inside of yourself. It isn't when somebody else tries to teach you something or tries to do something for you that in fact you decide that it's positive in your life. And so it becomes a very good question is how? How do you utilize your mentality? How do you start to put yourself in a place where your mentality starts to open you up to overcome your challenges? And this is the place where, and the reason why I talk about not needing to have anything other than yourself, and to not beat yourself up over your challenges. So, how do we start to get through our challenges? Where do we start to go to put our mentality in such a way that we're utilizing our challenges to our advantage? And this is where this skill starts to come in handy. It starts to come in handy when you're starting to see that people are not wanting you for who you are. Okay, so if you, for instance, are in a place where people don't see you for the person that you are inside, the things that you enjoy, then we have to seek out the ability to see what is actually positive in our lives. What is actually bringing us closer to ourselves, what is bringing us closer to our own level of mentality, giving us the ability for the universe to use the gifts that you have inside of yourself. Because the universe itself will only throw things at you for you to decide if they're positive and negative. Because the energy within the universe is always going to be there. It's always going to see things as a perfectly utilizable source. If you're going to see it in this way, it's going to face off against you in this way. It's always filling itself in. It's always taking in the place of that void to actually be able to understand that our opinions are individual. Our opinions are the things that stop us from seeing those types of things. It stops us from putting our mentality in such a way that we start to utilize this universe. So instead of stopping yourself from seeing the positive in your challenges and allowing the opposite to move out of the way, start utilizing it and allowing those things to move out of the way on their own. Now, how can you start to do that? What are some of the tools that you can utilize, okay? Things that you can use as tools in your life so that you can start to identify with the positive things that are going on and how to start to follow and to chase after positivity. So we know that when your mentality starts to open up, when your ability starts to give you the ability to allow those types of things to move out of the way, not everybody is going to agree. Not everybody is going to see things the same exact way your eyes do. That's why it's important that we remember that it's not versus somebody else. When people start to see you for you, when people start to recognize you, they start to know your name, they start to know your mentality, they start to know your level of focus, okay? They start to see that you have what it takes inside of you. Now, what you're putting your mentality into, what you're putting your ability into is either one of two things. It's either enabling positivity to come into your life, or it's disabling you and bringing negativity towards you. So are you able to start to study to a point where what you're putting down in front of yourself, you are starting to identify with the positive and negative forces in such a way that positivity starts to become the results. Now, a lot of people are surprised in the results because they didn't spend the time to see the view of the universe per those results. And so, how can we start to recognize that utilizing the universe can actually become your friend? Now, this was a very good question that actually Einstein answered. He said, recognize that you can become friends with the universe. Now, how can you start to become friends with something so big unless you start to see your journey, unless you start to see your path, unless you start to use your school of you? And so how do you use your tools? How do you start to recognize that you are a tool in this universe unless you start to study yourself? So it doesn't make sense for you to beat yourself up over your challenges, because those challenges are waiting for you to see how you're going to utilize the universal equation to overcome those challenges. Instead, you should embrace that mentality. You should embrace that ability inside of yourself to where you give yourself the ability to dominate those problems. How? How do you start to do so? So this is where journaling comes in. The importance of journaling is so that you can start to study how these things are reacting in your life, how you're utilizing your level of mentality, how you're putting yourself in such a place where you focus through the challenges that you're facing off against. Now, one of the times that I find is best to actually sit down and to write stuff down and to speak things out and to put it in such a way that other people can utilize it, not just yourself, because remember, you are a part of a total universe, is through self-study. So when you wake up in the morning, write down what is on your mind. Write down what you are going through. Write down your challenges and write them down in such a way that you can start to see the negative and the positive things happening on a daily basis. Now, let me go ahead and ask you a question. Have you ever faced off against a challenge where you were sitting in a place where you didn't know if you could make it through that challenge at that time? Then the universal equation, time itself, moved forward, and through organizing yourself, you looked back and you asked yourself the question, if that didn't happen, would I be where I am right now? Now, the interesting part about that is that you would not be where you are right now if you did not go through that challenge. So how do we start to utilize it? How do we start to see the page ahead? How do we start to put ourselves, unless we start to study how reactions work, how actions work, how and what the positive things in our life actually are? So this is what I mean by writing stuff down. I mean putting down everything that you are facing off against, everything that is vibrating out of you, everything that you're putting in, because the people around you will see that. The universe will identify with that person. It will attract to you what your mentality is giving you the ability to focus into. So ask yourself, how are you focusing? Are you filling it with positivity? Are you putting it in such a way that the results start coming out, that you are not surprised in the results? Where you are not without a plan, where in fact when the challenges come, you have the ability to overcome those challenges. See, it's up to you to program your mind with positivity in such a way that the only thing that you identify with is positivity. And through doing so, you will allow the things that are not meant for you the ability to enable your mentality to be positive through letting those things move out of your life, by letting positivity fill those voids, by allowing yourself the ability to make it through your challenges, and for your mentality to open up. So where do you start to seek out that kind of positivity? Where do you start to go? There are many different sources that you can utilize, such as podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter. You can listen to my videos, which I pretty much work on almost everyday basis. I have over 300 videos in the last year. And so you can put yourself in a place where you can subscribe to people that are putting that kind of thing out there and start to turn off the subliminal or the subconscious programming that's stopping you, such as news, such as radio, that would hold you back from the dreams and the goals that you want to achieve. Now, another place that we start to face off against this is in our professions. A lot of times we're seeking out to become the top, and we find that there are other people on the top as well. I can promise you that you won't reach the top unless you look inside of yourself, inside of your level of mentality, inside of the abilities that you have inside of yourself to overcome your own challenges, that your own viewpoint will have the ability for other people to see the reflection. So, how do we start to build a foundation in focus? How do we start to put ourselves in a place where we allow those types of things to move out of the way? By focusing into the things that are bringing us in that direction. By putting a place where the focus becomes its own foundation. Where are you putting your energy? What are you putting your energy into? Are these emotions bringing you closer to yourself? Are they bringing you closer to the person who you are on the inside? Is that student inside of yourself growing? Is that student inside of your mentality opening up? Is that student inside of the ability that you have inside to overcome your own challenges, giving you the permission to see positive things in your life? See, a lot of people who view you when you are so focused that negativity has the ability to leave your life, they view you as a person in this universe who has started to decide that you are going to become a tool. That's right. They start to seek you out for the position. Okay? I can give you perfect examples of this. If you want to become the best at something, you have to put your mind to it. How do you start to put your mind into something if you're not focused? So, if you want to achieve something, if you put your energy into something, focus to do it at the best of your ability. That means that you need an able mentality, that you need to not be disabled in your mind. You need to believe in yourself, your products, your skills, your abilities that you have, the challenges that you face off against, the things that you are going through, that you can truly make it through them, and that the universe will utilize the gifts that you have inside of yourself. So, if you're facing off against some kind of heat today, don't beat yourself up over the fact that you haven't sat down and studied on how to turn that positive. Start to utilize today to pick up that pen and paper, that computer, that dream that you have, those challenges that you're facing off against, and to start to give yourself the time to become the master that is already inside of you. We see people who do paintings. They focus to the point where people cannot see the painting until they see the results. When you are willing to focus to that kind of level, when you're willing to put yourself at a point where your mentality starts to become an able mentality, when it starts to become a part of who you are, it's not going to be from other people that you will achieve high levels of success is going to come from within yourself. It's going to come within your mentality, that the universe will start to utilize your gifts, your talents, and your skills. If you're not sitting and perfecting your skills, don't expect that you're going to be the top in your profession. Don't expect that you're going to be the top in your relationships. Don't expect that you're going to be the top in your mentality. See, we first must build a relationship with ourselves, with our level of study, become the student in our lives, spend that kind of time studying ourselves, letting ourselves grow inside of who we are, grow inside of the challenges that we face off against, find a way to get to know yourself, to get to spend time with who you are on the inside, to spend time with the person that you are, that you could start to believe in yourself, to where you allow the things that would hold you back from emotion, fear, pain, to move out of the way on their own. That's right, you don't have to move them out of the way. All you have to do is be yourself. All you have to do is use your gifts. All you have to do is face off against your challenges. And if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to sit down with yourself to that point where what you're going through, you will make it through. You will find a way to get to the other side of those challenges. And what you will find along the way is that if those challenges didn't come your way, you wouldn't be where you are right now. Now, it's a blessing that you are where you are, that you've made it through this many pages of your life. Have you sat down and started to study those pages of you? Have you given yourself that kind of time to where you give yourself permission to become a professor in your life? Have you given yourself the time to ask the question itself, how many years have I been on the face of this planet? Have I sat down at a point to where I start to master that kind of mentality, that kind of vibration? Or have I allowed myself to paralyze my mentality? See, we enable our mentality. We enable our ability. Before people's called something something, that thing still existed. Those challenges exist for all of us. Every single person who lives on the face of this planet has some form of challenges, has something that they have to work through, something that drives them to be who they are and allows them to open up to themselves if they focus to the point where they give themselves that kind of permission. That's why what you listen to is so important as well. Are you putting yourself in a place that's driving you to become the best in the things that you're putting your energy into? Are you putting yourself in a place where you give yourself that kind of mentality to where what you're going through, what you're facing off against, what you're focusing into, does not have the ability to hold you back? See, a lot of people don't recognize that they are a human, and that the most important part of that is being present inside of themselves. That's why the word human being is important. They get involved in the emotion, the action, without realizing where their energy is going. They put themselves in a place where they're not utilizing this universe at the best of their ability, because if they were, then they would start to see that focusing on the foundation of what they should be focusing into is that. So how are you enabling your mentality? If you're hearing this message and you've taken the time to sit down and hear what I'm saying, realize that a lot of times in our lives, we're seeking out for somebody else's energy. We're seeking out for somebody else's motion. When do we start to seek out our own motion and allow those people to follow us in our own mentality? So how are we utilizing this? How are we recognizing that our gifts exist? How are we starting to put ourselves in a place where that ability inside of you, and a lot of us as kids have had dreams. When do you put the motion and the energy that you have into a place of focus? Into a place where what you focus into, you get to keep. See, that's where we got to ask ourselves those types of questions. What does it mean to have an emotion? What does it mean to utilize your mentality? What does it mean to get to the point where you start to want to become the student in your life, that you start to want to believe in yourself, that what you're going through you can achieve, that what you're going through you can overcome? See, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when people tell you it's not possible, and you continue to focus on that, and you allow their word, impossible, to move out of its way on its own. So if you are looking to do something for yourself, you can look at your whole entire life would have been impossible for you to be alive. It would be impossible for you to breathe. And that is where it came to me inside, where I recognized that what's going on inside of you is what matters the most. I was facing off against challenges that were asking the question, can you do this? Can you achieve this? Can you become greater on the inside? When I loved somebody more than I loved myself. And what I mean by this, before I spent the time to study me, I was inside of the motion and not focused on where I was putting my energy. And there is a lot of people who lose that energy. If you have a GPS and your GPS shuts off, the ability to move in that direction now has been lost. That means your beacon, your ability to have an able mentality to achieve your tasks, your goals, your place of entry into your universal being gets shut down. A lot of people get stuck, and at a certain point that starts to disable the mentality, starts to disable that ability inside of themselves to overcome those parts of those challenges that they are facing off against. So what does it take for you to find that beacon? What does it take for you to find the E in emotion? You got to fuel it. You got to allow what you're seeping into your mentality to enable you. You got to allow yourself to energize your being to become that kind of energy to where your emotions, your place of focus, has the ability to have movement. And one of those places that we start to find that movement is where we sit down and study. When do we sit down and study? How do we sit down and study? This second part of this speech has to deal with self-mastery. Now, as the universe stops crushing you and starts to throw positivity and negative forces in your direction, you have the opportunity to go inwards. You'll start to see that the things that used to stop you no longer have the ability to stop you. Instead, they start to give you the ability to study yourself. They give you the ability to start to find the knowledge behind those things as you're sitting down like a student inside of a classroom. And this is how. What you've written down, you get to analyze. When you sit down and you analyze that, when you sit down and you start to ask yourself the question, what is in this lesson? It becomes like a student inside of a classroom, right? You have to utilize books. You have to utilize chapters. You have to utilize visuals. You have to utilize experiences. What are some of the experiences that you've been through? What are some of the things that you're facing off against today? What are some of the things that you are looking into and learning how to study? Can you do that with your fears? Most definitely you can. If you sit down inside of yourself and you start to sit and to start to breathe and spend time with yourself, you will find that your inwards breath can connect you to your being like a student inside of a classroom. So as we sit down with ourselves, as we sit inside of who we are, as we start to utilize that, those things start to open up. Those things that might be compressed inside of yourself that have not had the ability to be worked out. One of such ways that we find this is an exercise. We find people that are decompressing themselves, they're opening up their challenges, they're overcoming their challenges with things like lifting weights, like things like sitting down and meditating, like things like writing, singing, and doing other things that would bring them closer to being who they are. Now, one of those places that you can also do that is through speaking it out. So sometimes the frustrations that we're holding inside of ourselves are not allowing us the ability to be the student in the life that we already live. So what does it take to spend that kind of time inside of yourself? Ask yourself that kind of question. Ask yourself, where did these pains, where did these fears, where did these emotions come from? How can I overcome these emotions? And what does it take for me to start to get to the page where I can start to become that student? And this does not just happen on one day. It's a daily grind. It's a daily ability. It's the ability to enable the mentality at a level where you start to believe in yourself, where you start to believe that you can achieve it. So, have you put yourself in a place, and find that place for yourself where you can do that. Find that place where you can sit in a place of observation. It's very interesting when we're in school, we have to go to a classroom or we sit in front of a computer. We have to have a very important space where we designate time for ourselves. The designating time for yourself, giving yourself even 1/10 of your day, will give you the ability to sit down and start to study yourself, and it will start to open up the challenges that you are facing off against. And so each of us have that kind of place if we put it first in our day. If we find the time in our day to make sure before we start to face off against the challenges, we start to find that the challenges start to become easier to overcome. Now, as you are sitting in that place of study, start to recognize with patience, you start to connect with yourself. You start to connect with your your journey. You'll start to connect with your path. You'll start to connect with the ability to observe that this person treated me this way. I enjoyed this thing. I did not enjoy this thing. As that knowledge inside of yourself starts to open up, you will start to understand, you will start to gain from the curriculum of yourself. You will start to recognize you. So, that is how you start to open up. That is how you start to use your abilities that you have inside of yourself, is by believing in you, believing that you can overcome your challenges, that you can spend just a little bit of time on yourself, that the universe itself will react to the knowledge that you have inside of you. Across multiple biblical, it is written that the existence is knowledge. Have you spent the time to absorb it? Have you spent the time to be inside of yourself to the point where you utilize your mentality, where you utilize your ability, where you utilize your challenges, where you utilize your level of focus and your place of knowledge? See, there is a teacher inside of each of you that's waiting for the student to be checked for the knowledge that exists inside. And a lot of times that teacher has many pages compressed inside of you that you just haven't opened up yourself to. That you haven't put yourself on, that you haven't gone through. And the reason why is because you've got to spend that level of patience, that level of being, that level of becoming presence within ourselves. We get so sped up that we stop ourselves from slowing down for even a moment. One of those places of meditation is before you go into your position, do you close your eyes and give yourself a minute to manifest the day in front of you, to know that what you're going through you can overcome, that what you're facing off against is not here to stop you. So, what is it going to take for you to have that kind of patience with yourself, where you start to observe you, where you start to understand you, you start to spend that time that you would, we get so used to spending time and understanding other people. When do we sit down and spend time understanding ourselves is the questions we got to ask. When is it not about somebody else anymore? When is it about what you're going through? When is it about what you're putting your mentality into? When is it about what you're working on? When is it about who you want to know? Do you want to know yourself? Do you want to have the time to study you, to truly start to put your energy in a place where your emotions start to become gifts, and they start to become a manifestation where your being starts to utilize your challenges and your focus starts to open up and your knowledge starts to free itself to you? Because it exists, and it exists inside of you. A lot of people get it decompressed to the point where the motion inside doesn't move. See, that's why energy is important. That's why the different energy fields, the Kundalini, or known as the pages, exist. And that is why the Qigong, the chapters inside of you, exists, the turning points. After all, don't we have birth dates? Right? Each year marks a chapter in your life. When do you embrace it? When do you allow it to have a celebration on the inside? A celebration within mentality, a celebration within connection. And this is where, when people start to see that place as meditation. Now, we know that focus and knowledge center themselves. Do you see yourself as that place of discipline? Do you see yourself as that ability to use your discipline and apply your focus and knowledge and give yourself that kind of permission to become that place, to find that those rituals that you go through on a daily basis, those challenges that only you can focus into, only you can achieve. You see, we see these people across the face of the planet who have done that. We see these people who have given themselves just a little bit of time each day. And they reap massive benefits from that. They reap massive abilities inside of themselves to overcome those challenges, because when the heat came, they had the knowledge to put their whole self in such a way that they had that ability to become the person that they are inside. Now, what I'm talking about is what other people see when you are disciplined. What they're seeing is a place of inspiration. They're seeing somebody that no matter the challenges that they went through, the things that they faced off against, the things that they are doing, they know that you're applying your knowledge and your focus, and that your motion is moving you in such a way that the things that you are getting, receiving, and the universal yields that are coming your way are opening up to you. See, a lot of people see people who get gold medals. They don't see the hours, the weeks, the knowledge, the techniques, the focus that they put into that to perfect their craft. And that is what I'm talking about, you becoming the person, the universe utilizing you, people starting to seek you, starting to ask you, they start to come to you and they start to say that you are inspiration. Okay? By being yourself, other people can become uplifted. By being who you are on the inside, by going through your challenges, by putting yourself in a place where your mentality starts to open up, where your ability starts to open up, where your level of manifestation utilizes you. And a lot of people walk around and we can read their vibration. We can read that they're not motivated, that they are not in a place of meditation, that they are not in a place where it is inspiring other people by being themselves. Ask yourself that question. Are you using your focus and knowledge in such a way that it's becoming applied as your whole being? Are you dominating your challenges? Are you putting yourself in a place where the universe will yield those things towards you, that it will yield that kind of mentality, that it will yield that kind of ability, that it will give you the place to where you have the ability to overcome those kinds of challenges? So, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how do we start to reflect outwards as a reflection of inspiration? How do we start to allow other people to see you for who you are, to see your gifts for your abilities, to start to see that you have what it takes, that you can achieve the dreams that you want to achieve, that you can achieve the focus that you want to achieve, that you can do what it takes inside of you, that you can manifest a vibration of inspiration. This means that you'll get the promotions at work. This means that you will get the promotions in your life. This means that the gifts, the talents, the skills, other people will start to seek you out. This means that if you put your mentality, if you put your ability, if you even listen to these videos and you subscribe to my network, and you start to listen to these and you let these little things that I talk about on a daily basis open up inside of you, that you will start to see them working in your life, and the things that are not meant for you will move out of the way. I want you to become inspired to be you. I want you to see that your gifts, your talents, your dreams, your mentality comes when you apply your focus and your knowledge. When you apply your ability inside of yourself, that believing that it is possible, that believing that what you are doing today is worth it, that believing that you have what it takes inside of yourself, that you can achieve your dreams. And so, are we using our knowledge to that level? See, a lot of people start doing the best that they can when they see the knowledge and the focus is applicable. Are you applying your mind as putty to the universe in such a way that the universe has the ability to utilize your gifts? Now, that is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who start to believe in themselves. I'm talking about people who start to achieve their dreams. I'm talking about people who start to achieve their understanding that it's worth it for them to be themselves. I want to plead a case that your knowledge and your focus inside of you is worth it, that you have a path, you have a purpose that you started before, and that when you find that place inside of yourself, when you sit down and do the homework that only you can do, when you sit down and you start to focus to the point where what you're facing off against, you have the ability to overcome. Then, and in that place, and in that time, you will utilize it, and it will find a way to work for you. It will find a way to work inside of you. It will find a way to work with you, and the universe will yield wealth and many different ways. So, what do you say? Connect with the network. Listen to my videos. Hear what I'm saying on a daily basis. Test it out for yourself. Test out that mentality that was putting me in the place where I started to believe in myself again. Ask yourself that type of question. Am I enabling my mentality? Am I enabling my ability? Am I putting myself in a place where I am growing, where my whole entire being, where my whole entire energy, where my whole entire focus is applying at a point where other people are seeing me as a place of inspiration? Now, not only will other people start to want to do the best, it will also uplift you. It will make you the best in your professions. Some of you out there might be doing sales. Some of you might be doing customer service. Some of you might be using a craft. Some of you might be using a skill. When you uplift other people, you will find that wealth comes your way. You will find those dreams start coming your way. Those challenges start coming your way. The equations to overcome them start coming your way. Now, I remember working for Chrysler. And as I was working inside of Chrysler, there were times when I would feel the challenges like chess. Because as you know your pieces, other people start to get to know their pieces. So that means that you truly have a chance to use your gifts. You truly have a chance to apply your talent. You truly have an ability inside of yourself to see the other person's pawns before they see their own pawns. When you know that you can make this move and this challenge starts to happen. When you make this move, this thing starts to happen. When you start to do these type of things start to happen. And so how do we start to utilize that kind of place unless we allow the knowledge to become applied. Hearing what I'm saying, pleading a case with you to become an inspiration within this universe, to put your whole being into you, but to put your whole being into your challenges, to put your whole focus into a place where what you're utilizing inside of yourself starts to come outwards, where what you're utilizing inside of yourself starts to become who you are, where it starts to use the person inside of you, to believe in you, to see the blessings inside of those challenges in such a way that you have what it takes. Have you asked yourself that question? Do you know what it takes to be you? Do you know what it takes for you to face off against your challenges? Have you spent even just a little bit of time on yourself? Have you spent just a little bit of time in your mentality and your ability and your beliefs in yourself, building a foundation where focus and knowledge is applied inside of you, where your focus and your knowledge and the challenge that you're facing off against is using your whole being, using your whole place of focus, using your gifts, that your God-given right to be yourself, your God-given right to be the blessing in the universe, to start to sit down and study who you are. See, emotions come up as lessons. They're there to teach you. You had to learn them. The knowledge inside of you, that thing inside of you, that brain that you have, that thing that computes this whole entire ability, that utilizes this energy, is asking you if you can compute. It's asking you if you can use it, if you can apply it, if you can become like putty to yourself and to your knowledge in such a way that what you mold is you. Mold a life that you want to live. Mold an ability inside of yourself that your dreams start to become possible. That your challenges are not stopping you. That you have what it takes inside of who you are. If you can believe at that level, if you can believe at that level where you know that it takes you swimming 2 to 3 times the amount of laps, like Michael Phelps was known to swim. If it can take you 2 to 3 times to be able to do that at a level where nobody else can go, if it can take you your permission to be who you are on the inside, your permission to face off against your challenges, if it can give you a place where what you're going through, it becomes a blessing, then watch as the universe uses you as a blessing for other people. Watch as this universe sees your challenges in such a way that you start to overcome them. Watch as this universe starts to see you and starts to believe in you. And as this universe starts to do that, watch as other people start to follow you. They start to seek you out. They start to seek out your level of mentality, your level of ability, your level of challenges. And you start to put your whole being together. If you are in a place where you don't know if you can, if you're in a place where you don't know if it's possible, start today. Start with just the littlest things. Start to write down how you truly feel. Start to open it up and start to study it. Start to become that type of person inside of yourself where you start to believe in you. If there's one person that you gotta believe in, it's yourself. You gotta believe that you can do the things that nobody else could do. You gotta believe that when you're facing off against challenges and you're starting to make it through the challenges, that you can do it, that you can achieve it, that you can become it. Remember, we learn walls because we learn that they are walls. If we can learn walls, we can unlearn walls. That means that we can learn to unlearn our challenges, that we can overcome them, that we can jump over the fences, that we can jump through the challenges that we're facing off against, that what we're going through, we can grow through. And that we can get back up, that we can overcome those types of things, that we can be who we are on the inside, that the challenges that we're facing off against are not there to stop us. Are you knowledgeable inside of yourself? Are you giving yourself that kind of a place Are you giving yourself that kind of recognition that you've been on the face of the planet for that long? You grow every day. Are you giving yourself the permission for your mentality to grow? Are you giving yourself the permission for your ability inside of yourself to grow, for your ability inside of your being to grow, for your dreams to start to become possible, for them to start to open themselves up to get to the place where what it takes is you. What it takes is the person inside of you, believing in you, believing that you're the one, that you came along because your dreams have a reason, your knowledge has a reason, your focus has a reason. And so, how are we using those gifts? Do you know that other people, when you're being yourself, become inspired? Do you know that other people become uplifted? That the universe has the ability to use you? That the Most High God in this universe uses those people to move people? They call it a movement because the people start to see that movement. They start to see that energy flowing. They start to see the magnitude in which it's being used. Okay? Are you using your movements? Are you using your breath? Are you using your focus, your knowledge, your discipline to a point where what's coming out of you is helping other people to grow, helping other people to see you, helping other people to believe in themselves to a level where nobody else can go? After all, nobody else can breathe your breath. Nobody else can live your life. Nobody else can do the things that you do. Nobody else can think the thoughts that you think, have the challenges that you have the focus that you have the manifestation that you are both mass and energy within the universe. What a blessing it is for us to have those kinds of challenges. Because when we become a reckoning in the universe, when we become a blessing in this universe, when we uplift other people and they start to see it and they start to achieve it for themselves and they start to share your mentality, they start to share your ability, they start to become lit up for themselves, when they start to believe that they can do it and that it's worth it, they start to notice that you can do it too. That this world wasn't like created in a way for people to not be able to achieve their dreams. It was created in a way for you to be able to achieve your dreams. It was created in a way for you to be able to be who you are on the inside, and for it to light up this world in such a way that you can do it, that you can see it. And you got to believe that you are you. Simple as that. Be yourself. Be the person that you are inside. Let the drag go behind you. If you can see the wind, if you can see through it, then you can make it through it. If you can see the wind turn in your direction, it will start flowing with you. It will start flowing in such a way. As the wind flows, are you flowing with it? Or are you becoming the one who the wind starts to use as strength, it starts to use as power, it starts to use as a shield within the universe, within the path that you're on, within the purpose that you have, within the journey that you go through? We all have that kind of a place that we're seeking. We all have that kind of a challenge that we're looking to get through, that we're looking to work on, that we're looking to manifest within ourselves. You all are a blessing. I'm telling you. When you uplift other people, the universe utilizes you. As my mantra, the law of riches, when I share with others, I receive more in return. Recognizing this, getting down with this place, getting to that level of grind, getting to that level of ability, getting to that level of mentality where we believe in ourselves, where we become an inspiration, is what inspires me to continue to do this, to continue to uplift other people. And I just want to say blessings to you all as I close. Namaste.